Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to do a review of a new saber that I've obtained. This is called the Bors Saber from Pach Store. Now if you're familiar with Pach Store, I've done some reviews of their stuff before, and generally they specialize in the lower price, low-end, basic saber models like the Tiny Giant or the Hijron. Pach Store also has a higher-end model market that they call the Ultimate Works or Ultimate Effects. I think it's Ultimate Works set. Actually, this will probably, there's a spot on here that would tell me. Ultimate Works. But higher end models, I did one review of one of those before, which was my Nihilist Saber from them. Now that one was sold as an empty kit. This is sold as an installed saber. So let me give you a close-up look at the Bors Saber first, and then we'll start giving you a closer look at some of the parts of it and talking about features and everything else. Alright, so first off, let me talk about similar designs. By and large, this thing is similar in design to some of the new Aeons and Dominixes from Ultra Sabers. It's similar to the Aegis from Electrum Sabercraft, and in some respects to the Wrath Saber from Vader's Vault. Now, some of the features of it, it's got sort of this mace-like section up here at the top on the emitter with vents in it. It's got a pommel and a midsection here that match. Now the pommel and the mace section I've seen before. This midsection is something new. I'll talk about that in just a moment. In terms of pieces of the saber, the pommel is removable. Now this thread size on this is very similar to the Hijron. I actually can put this piece and the Hijron piece together. If I push too hard it would cross thread, but they are the same size. The threads are just a little bit different width. The pommel on this is not equipped with a CoverTech wheel. It's equipped with a little ring right here, so you have to have the right belt set up for that, otherwise that's not going to help you too much. It also rattles a little bit when you use it, but that's not that big of a deal. Usually in sabers, I'm used to unscrewing the pommels, shaking the saber, and then everything that's inside comes out so that you can change the battery. There's no recharge port on this, so you have to take the battery out in order to charge it. On this one I was shaking for quite a while and nothing was coming out. And the reason behind that is that this little grip section in the middle serves a pretty good function. You use that to unscrew the middle section. And the pommel can be on at the same time when you're doing this, by the way. Let me go ahead and just put the pommel back on. But the whole bottom portion of the saber comes off. Now this is a chassis setup that I've seen in higher-end professional install sabers before, but I've never seen one quite like this in what is essentially a mass-market saber. There's a few other new things to mass-market sabers on here. But we have a chassis here that's containing the battery on this side that you take out in order to charge the saber, speaker on the bottom, board on the front. Now this thing is featuring a Proffie board, which again is another new thing. Proffie boards are something rather new to the industry that are often in very short supply, and I've seen them in a lot of custom makes, but I have not seen them in anything like a production model from a major saber maker before. So this again was a first. So Proffie board, battery, speaker. The speaker isn't the loudest, but it's a decent speaker. Doesn't have anything on the volume of like a Vader's Vault, but it's audible. So there you go. All right, let me screw that back on. This part right here, this grip, is a leather cord wrap that I added. This was just a very nice flat section between two raised bits that just pretty much screamed to me, put a grip here. So even if you're not real comfortable with adding a grip to a saber, this saber makes it very easy for you. Okay, the mace-like section up at the top. Another thing that I thought when I saw this, being used to some of the other Pach Store stuff, I thought that the edges on this were going to be super sharp. They are not. Even though this sticks out above the emitter, I can push it into my hand and do that with it. And if I tried that with my Hijron, I would have just chewed up my hand. But this thing, everything is really nicely beveled. I went with the gunmetal option, and everything is very smooth on this. The set screws on this. There are 6 holes for set screws. It came with 3 set screws in it. But between each one of these little mace fins up here is a spot for a set screw. Alright, in terms of weight and design, because of the chassis and everything, this is a very sturdy, very nice to handle saber. I was impressed by that when I took it out for a spin. This section in the middle also had a nice benefit to it as well. For things like tosses, it gave you a point of reference. Also a lot of traction that you don't get on many sabers that are just round. What I mean by that is when you're doing things like tosses with this, usually on a round saber, there's only so much traction I can get for when I flip my wrist to rotate the saber. Because of this grip section right here, you can spin this very easily and very fast on a toss. It also gives a nice point of reference for your hand, because if you're gripping it low and your hand starts to get up here where you might accidentally hit the button, you will feel it. If you're gripping it high, you're above the button and you're behind this mace emitter, so you don't have to worry too much about that. But this lets you know when you catch the saber or when you're not looking at the saber where your hand is. It's a nice point of reference in that respect. Alright, so very nice design saber. One other thing that this thing had going for it is this came as an option with Neopixel. Now Neopixel is something very new to the market, and I'm kind of on record as not being impressed by it, which for Neopixel fans was tantamount to heresy, and it's gotten me a whole lot of comments about how terrible and uninformed I am, but be that as it may, this thing comes with Neopixel, and one of my biggest objections to Neopixel has always been that I believe that the price of Neopixel is not justified. Now this whole thing, it was hard for me to pass up to give it a shot, because this whole thing was about $230. That includes a Neopixel blade, and oftentimes Neopixel blades themselves cost $150. I've never understood exactly why, but I'll talk about that in a Neopixel video in future. But this whole thing for $230, it was a little bit more than that, but I caught a sale that they had going on. It was a really, really tempting price point for a fully sound installed saber with the newest technology and a chassis and everything. This was a bargain and a half. So I picked it up, and I'm not sorry that I did, because everything that I was worried about with this, like sharp edges and install, has just impressed me. But let me talk about something else, though, that's specific to this saber. One of the things about Neopixel is all the lights for Neopixel are in the blade. There's a little connector here at the bottom. Again, more on this later. But without the Neopixel blade, Neopixel sabers are known for not doing really anything. There have actually been people who have made Neopixel blade plugs. That's basically like a short little blade with like 3 or 4 LEDs in it, so that you've got the ability to have your saber lit without having to have the blade in it. One of the nice things that Pach Store has done that I've never seen before is that in between the connector pieces, if I look down into this thing, this is not a standard PlectorPixel connection, though it's very similar on the saber and it's interchangeable with PlectorPixel blades. The connector in here actually is branded and says Ultimate Works, and it's got all the pins that connect to the blade and 3 tiny little LEDs, so that even when the blade is not lit, or even when the blade is not attached rather, I still have light, and that light still changes and flickers for unstable effects, and shows me what color the saber would be if the blade were attached. Alright, so it came with all the regular pre-installed stuff, but those lights in there are a really cool feature. I mean, it's a very simple fix, but I've never seen anybody offer that before, and I was very impressed by that. So, all things told, this is the Bors Dragonslayer Saber from Pach Store. Now, they were doing this in a relatively small run that sold out quick, but they have said that they're going to be offering these at least 1 or 2 more times in future. So just something to look out for. I'm very happy with this, even though I'm still not completely sold on the Neopixel technology. The versatility of this and the way that this thing handles and the craftsmanship behind it, I'm impressed by this, because I wasn't expecting this of a Pach Store Saber. I would expect this from a custom job, and usually that's the only place you'll see stuff like this. So if you're looking for a custom level craftsmanship in a budget level price, this is a really nice one to get. So there you have it, the Pach Store Bors Ultimate Works Saber. Hopefully this review has been of use. If it has, join me back for more, and I'll see you next time.